What's up, world? Briterion Bollection is back.
Yes.
Bitches.
Thank you.
Sorry, okay. I'm your host, Kevin. I'm here with my wife.
Aileen.
And this is the latest episode of Briterion Bollection movie podcast. And it's still March 2025.
We need a lot of catching up to do. So much has gotten on the way, but we're really trying to make up for it.
Yeah, we're gonna try to make up for lost time. So we're still celebrating Women's History Month, and you might think like, oh, why are you, going on and on about Women's History Month? Or, why did you go on and on about Black History Month? Like, I think some people feel like that it limits too much what you can do. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it's just to be for me to be somewhat inclusive. You know what I'm saying? Because our cats are around too.
Oh, yes. They will be stealing the show at times, so.
Yeah. Like I was saying, Women's History Month, Black History Month. Why these themes? Well, to me, I look at it like it's a way to try to keep some balance. Because I may not do another female-directed movie after this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could do any movie I want, and I don't necessarily have to do female-directed ones. I don't necessarily have to do black-directed ones or black-starring ones. You know what I'm saying? I could do French movies the rest of the year if I wanted to after this. But kind of having these roles in place, at least for me, it keeps it somewhat balanced. Definitely. So that's why I'm sticking to these themes, at least for the months. So, like I said, we're still celebrating Women's History Month. I figured we could talk about this film that I have a particular fondness for. It came out in 2002, and that film is called Bend It Like Beckham. And that was a really fun film that I remember seeing back in the day when it came out in the U.S. So if you, Bend It Like Beckham is a 2002 sports comedy drama film directed by Gurinder Chadha from a screenplay by Chadha, Paul Mayeda Burgess, and Gulijit Bindra. So, as you can tell by some of the names behind this, it's basically an Indian type of story. It's Indian based. And
well, really Indians who live in the UK, really.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of Indians who live in the UK. It's kind of cool to see a movie about that, for the first time, at least for me, So I actually saw this in the theater when it came out. I guess it came out in the US. It came out like March 2003. I was 17 when it came out, and it was actually the first movie I ever really saw alone. Believe it or not, like
interesting.
I every time I went to the movies before that, I was either with my family or someone.
Yeah.
But by that point, I started driving. Had my own car. And when you start driving and you have your own car, that comes with a bit of freedom, and you can do your own stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that was actually like the first movie I ever saw alone. I was into some British shit at the time. So I like these British comedy shows like Coupling. I really like that show. I really like Smack the Pony.
Oh my goodness. You're in for some ridiculousness if you have not watched Smack the Pony.
Yeah. Well, Peep Smack the Pony. That show's tight. I think they have it on Tubi. I love that show. They would show it on Bravo Channel. And back then, Bravo Channel isn't like what it is now. Now it's just all reality crap. Back then, they actually were trying to show like more culture type of stuff, like a lot of foreign films and a lot of British stuff. So they showed, they showed like Alan Partridge on there, and they showed Smack the Pony, and I just thought it was awesome. Like I loved how different it was from American crap, basically. So I was into British stuff. So then when I saw that this was getting some buzz from the UK, I was like, oh, I want to see this. So I drove my ass to the theater and I actually saw it, by myself, and I really enjoyed it. It was different from what you usually see in American films, and I think now it's kind of more commonplace. People watch, foreign banal things on Netflix and stuff like that. They watch these Korean shows that are really about nothing. There's no like explosions in them or anything. They're just like slice of life dramas, and people are used to that now, but people weren't used to that back then. You know what I'm saying?
I don't feel like all of them are like that. I have seen at least a few K dramas have some sort of explosion. I guess you weren't paying attention to Vincent.
Okay. Well,
that's another story.
Yeah. Well, you get what I'm saying. More foreign stories are kind of more banal. American stories are more, Marvel, Fast and the Furious. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. And so now that streaming is you can watch whatever you want, whenever you want, in the comfort of your own home. But back in the day, these things were kind of hard to find. So, I ventured to the theater myself to watch this, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. When did you first see it?
I first saw it in 2004. I actually checked out the DVD from the library because I had been wanting to watch it for a while. And really, the only way that I could watch movies, because my parents never at the time, they would never take me to watch something that I wanted to watch myself. So, yeah, so I checked it out from the library. I don't remember which one it was. It was either Chula Vista or Coronado, because I would sometimes go to those. But yeah, I would check out a few movies at a time. At one point, that was one of them. And I remember watching it, and I actually liked it. Like, I actually thought, like, oh, this is different from most other movies that I've seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like culturally and
yes. And all around in content, I felt that it was different in quite a few ways.
Right. Yeah. So should I do the cliche Wikipedia description?
Absolutely. That's mandatory.
Okay. So Wikipedia describes this as follows. So 18-year-old Jess Minder, Jess Bamra, is the daughter of British Indian Punjabi Sikhs living in Hounslow, London. Jess is passionate about football, but her parents do not support her interest, preferring that she focus on academics. However, she sometimes plays in the park with boys, including her best friend Tony, who is thought to be interested in Jess, but is revealed to be gay later in the film. Jess's family is occupied with planning for the upcoming wedding of her older sister Pinky. Pinky and the Brain?
Yes, that's what I always wondered why that was her name. I didn't get the.
It's just a nickname. Yeah.
I assume that, but I just think it's weird that they never said her real name.
Right.
As to with Jess, that her real name is Jess Minder.
Sounds traditionally Indian. Right?
Absolutely.
But I guess maybe because she likes to wear pink, because she does wear pink quite a bit in the film, right?
Yeah, I think she's just girlier in general. Okay. I mean, at least like from what is like stereotypically girly. And
compared to Jess, who's more of a tomboy, right?
Yeah.
So, there were some random British hits at the time, About a Boy, I think came out the year before. And I really like that. I'm a big Hugh Grant guy.
I know you are.
I love the Hugh Grant. And, that was a great film. The Whites brothers did that, surprisingly, of American Pie fame. The first American Pie.
And speaking of ridiculousness earlier, that's another one.
Yeah. Yeah, so like,
Way even more ridiculous than Smack the Palm. So.
yeah, you're probably right about that. And there was like, the Britpop wave had happened, Spice Girls, Oasis was huge, and still by this time, you had Radiohead, Coldplay when they were good was at this time.
Yeah.
First two albums,
I would say,
2.5 albums.
yeah, I would say, well, the first three, but
Yeah,
after that,
yeah, they went downhill, at least for us at that time. So, like there was like a, British thing in the air, and this was just part of that, I feel like. So, the movie is called Bend It Like Beckham because, he does these free kicks. I feel like Beckham, I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, at like free kicks and bending them, putting that English on it where it spins. It looks like it's gonna go hella far out and go back into the goal.
yeah, but I don't know if I would call it English. I think it's an amazing kick technique, but I don't know if I would call it English.
But you know what I mean, right? Like English, like spinning. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
yeah, I see what you're saying, but he wasn't the only one who was good at that, though.
No, I mean, like Roberto Carlos from Brazil, he was pretty good at
Oh,
that
he
too.
was, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like, but I kind of feel like people forgot about him, and it's unfortunate because I thought he was really good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe they should have done a Brazilian remake and bend it like Roberto Carlos. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
With CSS on the soundtrack.
Back when they were still good. So.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, if you watch like highlights of like Beckham, doing bends and stuff like that on YouTube or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
it's awesome. I could watch that all freaking day. So that's why it's called that. I think a lot of people thought there was like a sexual angle to why it was called that.
I never assumed that. That's just you being gross.
No, I think they were like trying to go for this double, triple meaning to it.
Oh,
Um.
I don't
Anyways.
get people.
Anyways. So the movie starts out, and we see a real soccer game of Manchester United, which is where Beckham was playing at the time, and we see the commentators in the studio, commentating on the game, and then we like move over, and it's like her mom talking, like about her daughter and stuff like that, and then we cut to her mom chewing her out for watching soccer.
Oh, yeah.
In her room, and she says like, "Why do you keep watching that skinhead boy?" Pointing at Beckham.
Well, I mean, we already know who she's pointing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but yeah, we see like her room, and it's just all decked out, and you know, uh, soccer stuff. Beckham, it's like a Beckham shrine,
Yeah. Like how she has how her room is like right below where the rooftop is, and you know how they have like the slanted roofs, and
yeah,
you can see that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how she has, it's like, how Indians have shrines, Hinduism, it's like a
Oh yeah.
shrine to Beckham there.
Yeah, of course.
And it's interesting because for some reason, right when the movie starts out, like the lighting and cinematography of it looks like Bollywood-esque to me. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can see that was definitely intentional with the theme and the cultural aspect.
Right. But I feel like it was kind of like only in the first couple scenes, and then it kind of tones down after that. Maybe they wanted to hook, people who are used to seeing Bollywood cinema with like the look of that at first. So we find out that her sister Pinky is about to get married, and we kind of see the Indian environment that they live in London. We see the streets, and it's just all Indian.
Yeah.
And just like the Y2K fashion at that time.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Like Pinky and her friends, they look like Indian Bratz dolls. Like they're just like dressed up like just that fashion at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely reminds me of that.
Yeah. Too. Yeah, and then
like I feel like Bratz dolls, and then it's like, oh, who would think that there were such fashion icons?
I know, right? Yeah, it was very Y2K fashion, and then we see Keira Knightley for the first time with her mom shopping for bras.
Which is a very awkward thing to do,
and
especially for a teenager.
Yeah, for sure. And they bump into a classmate of Jesminder's and his mom, and it shows how they have to like code switch. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like they talk to each other in English, but then they talk to the older people in
Punjabi.
Yeah. It's like interesting. You know, it's like being here and seeing someone in your age range, and you might talk to them in English, but then you might talk to their parents in Spanish or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like the same sort of thing. Like,
yeah, I think I think I did that before. Like when I knew, because I had a lot of classmates that we were just used to speaking in English. Well, no, we were just used to it that way. More, I think it was more so them because I'm used to speaking either language, but some of them are like I remember having a lot of classmates be like, "Oh, I prefer speaking English. I'm just more used to it." But then if I like if I was around their parents, then of course I would speak Spanish to them.
right? Yeah, they're like more cultural, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
are you referring to my peers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, but it's like a similar situation. Like when you see that, it's like you can relate to that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then they see Indian dudes playing soccer in the park, and she jumps in and plays Jess, and and Keira Knightley sees this while she's jogging, and
So why are we calling Jess? Why are we calling her Jesminder, but we're calling Keira Knightley Keira Knightley?
Okay, what's Keira's name in this?
Did you not type her name on your notes?
So yeah. Jules. Her name is Jules too.
That's true. Her name is Jules, just like Joel Salgood.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was the last episode that we talked about. The kids together. Are all right.
Yeah. So her name is Jules as well. So Jules sees Jess, and while she's jogging in the park, and she's like, "Ooh, like she's kind of got some skills. Like we could use her on our team." Speaking of Indian, it kind of reminds me of when Apu in The Simpsons sees it's at the hockey game, and Bart is like flicking shit at her. He's like, she's
You mean at Lisa?
Yeah, at Lisa, and Lisa's like swatting it away, and Apu's like, "Ooh, like with those skills, I wonder." Hockey, yeah. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah. And he happened to be Indian too.
Yeah, exactly. Which I guess is kind of problematic now, but
yeah. Well, they retired the character a while back. Yeah, due to racism.
Then Jess is back home, and she's kind of praying to Beckham, talking to him like he's this like Hindu god kind of. I mean, they're definitely trying to associate that, and then her dad barges in, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Nothing." And he's asking if she was talking to someone else, and she's like, "No, just praying or something." And we see like the pre-wedding. It's like a rehearsal dinner kind of. I guess they do that in Indian culture as well. So
they do that in a lot of culture.
So she has to pass out food, and her aunties and friends are encouraging her to get married. That's kind of like, I guess, a typical immigrant type of thing. You know what I'm saying? They're like, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have kids? And then a phone rings, and then they all pull out their flip phone Nokias. It's funny. It's hilarious.
It's interesting to see how outdated those are.
Yeah.
It's like at the time you would not think that at all, but now you look at it, it's like that is so old.
Yeah, it's a nice snapshot of the time. So.
Yeah.
But that they all think their phone is ringing, so they all take out their flip phones. They're like, "Oh, it's hers. It's just one person. One of them is ringing." But it's cool to see. Yeah, they graduated from Snake Nokias to the Flip Nokias. Like seeing these like the girls talk and the guys talk in the movie. It's kind of funny because, like being from the U.S., like seeing them use like American hip hop slang is kind of funny. And I feel like it's only gotten more pervasive now. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of back then, so it's like kind of a novelty, to see that. But yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And they see Keira Knightley watching on the bench, and they think it's weird, and like she's watching her play, and Keira approaches her and invites her to try out for her soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a little bit weary, but she decides to go through with it. And there's a little soccer montage with the Basement Jaxx song.
Oh yeah,
Really like that song.
yeah.
It's a awesome montage. And then we see the coach is played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
Let's try to remember his name.
So Joe.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, everyone has a damn J. Everyone's with a J in this.
Oh, was that intentional, or did they just really not think about that? Their names would be starting with a J.
I mean, I guess it was intentional, but then it ends up being really confusing, kind of. You know what I'm saying? So it's like J, J, J. And this is the first time I really saw Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. But he did good.
I think that was also the first time I saw him in anything.
Yeah. But he would go on to do Match Point, which I really love, the Woody Allen film.
Yeah.
And he's done other stuff too, but mainly that is what I really like about him. Yeah, we can see that he's Irish, and he's kind of skeptical of Jess,
Mm-hmm.
but Jules vouches for her. She's like, I've seen her play. She's got mad skills. Let her try out. And he's like, all right, fine. But like, even in that little moment, we see like there's like some chemistry between Joe and Jess. You know what I'm saying? Little longing looks, like little bits of flirtation.
Yeah, of course.
Even though it's kind of weird because he's her coach and stuff, but yeah, they kind of hint to that. And Jules tells Jess that women can play in the U.S. Like this was at that time, like the league. I forgot what it was called, like USWA or something like that. And that league actually folded like the next year, so it was like, kind of ironic. They were trying to sell her on this idea, and then it just closed down like the next year. Because like Mia Hamm was playing in that league, a lot of the players from that '99 U.S. women's team that made women's soccer kind of big over here. So that's just kind of funny that the whole like motivation for her playing and stuff was to like go to the U.S. and go on that league, and then that league in real life shut down like the next year. So it's just kind of ironic. But they have new leagues now. They have like a few women's leagues, and I feel like like the World Cup, Women's World Cup is pretty big nowadays. So
well, still not as big as the men's one, really. Which they don't even call it men's. This is World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. So like you see, she's at home, and Jules is at home, and she's like trying to kick the goal at home with her dad. She has like her own goal, and he's like being goalie, trying to play with her, and her mom doesn't like that she's such a tomboy, and she says like, she's like, Sporty Spice is the only one with them without a fella. That's what she says, basically trying to say that,
Yeah. Well, that doesn't mean anything, really.
Yeah. I know. It's a nice Spice Girls reference,
Yeah.
I actually really like the Spice Girls, honestly.
At the time, I don't know. I just thought like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't that big of a fan at the time, but like when I listen back to their songs, they're pretty good.
No, they do have some good songs.
Yeah, I like to do Two Becomes One on karaoke.
Oh, yeah, last weekend or 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
But yeah. But when you do that, and when you sing that in front of family, I feel like they get soft.
Yeah, it does get a little awkward.
Family was involved.
Yeah.
Because yes, it was a family gathering.
Yeah. So when you're singing about making love.
Yeah, I would say just pick another song next time.
Okay, I'll sing Say You'll Be There next time. Um,
Okay.
so they go to the locker rooms and we see all the girls changing. And I think one of the girls is from like All Saints or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And you can see it's very multicultural. And I mean, it seems like Jess probably isn't that used to that, really, because where she lives, it's like 100% Indian. It's like,
well, I mean, it is
Hmm.
Hounslow, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I know it is pretty. Like, it's like that area is pretty South Asian.
Yeah.
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 Populated.
It's a real enclave of Indians living there. And we see Jess sitting down instead of warming up, and Joe walks over to her, and she's self conscious because she has like these burns on her legs.
Yeah.
And he tells her, not to worry about it. She said she got those from trying to cook beans and toast, and it like fell on her,
Oh.
fell on her legs. And this is the first time, I don't know if I had really heard about that. Like that's what the British eat. They eat beans and toast or whatever.
I mean, it's a stereotype, I think, really. Even though I think a lot of them do eat it.
Yeah.
And even at times I have enjoyed it myself, but I think it's just, I think it's, I mean, I would say it's probably halfway between a stereotype and something that they really do.
Yeah. I mean, it is part of an English breakfast, though. Like
Yeah.
that, the beans and toast.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like frijoles with like a side of toast or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you would think. I mean, if you're Mexican, especially, but I feel that, I don't know, I feel that he, but beans on toast, like I feel like the British baked beans, I feel that they have a sweeter type of taste,
Yeah.
and that's why it makes sense that it would be beans on toast.
Right.
But I don't think other beans would match with it.
No, yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, and we got to eat some of those when we went over there, right? We got to eat some English breakfast when we went to England.
Yeah, we did actually.
And then where we stayed was like a lot of Indians living there too, right?
Yeah, it was in Whitechapel. So yeah, it's interesting because as soon as you walk into the neighborhood, you smell curry or you smell some sort of masala, which I thought was it. It smelled really good on.
Yeah, yeah. And so we went there for our honeymoon in 2018. We did like a European tour, and England was one of those spots. We went to London, then we went to Liverpool, and then we had another stop over in London before we went back home.
Oh yeah. During you mean during the entire trip?
And just like being in London, I felt so underdressed. I just felt dressed like crap everywhere I went.
Yeah, but the people who are very well dressed are also pretty obnoxious. They're very loud and boastful, and um, I just looked at them and I thought, I don't know if I would want to be friends with these people.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we had a much better time in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Liverpool is awesome, and we kind of mainly went there just because I'm a big Beatles fan. Figured let's check it out, and I really loved it. Like I could see myself like living there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how much I liked it. It actually kind of reminds me of TJ in a weird way. Like
That is a weird way. That is a weird thing to think about.
Like in the sense that it's like a big city that feels small, or it's like a small city that feels big. I don't know how to describe it. But it has like everything you could want, even though it's like not like a huge major city or anything like that. I don't know. That's how I looked at it. But anyways, so we see Jess doing a training montage, and they're trying to do the bends like Beckham. They're trying to do those kicks, the free kicks, and it's a pretty cool montage. And then she bumps into the soccer guys at the park, and they make fun of her burns. Her burned legs. They make fun of them, and she's
That's just horrible. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why do you make fun of someone's burns?
Yeah, I know. They're stupid. But then she schools them with her moves, and they're like, "Oh shit, she's good." Um, but then in that moment, her mom sees her playing with them,
Ooh, yeah.
and her mom chews her out. Um, but she tells them that she's playing with the girls' team,
Mm-hmm.
and she's really pissed off. Her mom's like, "Look how dark you become playing in the sun."
It's like, why do you care so much about that? It's like, I feel that in a lot of cultures, like they get a lot of like that whitewashness that they're so concerned about them getting tan, and when they go out in the sun, it's like, why do you care so much about that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like she's dark, and it's like, yeah, I mean, she's Indian. You know what I'm saying? And she's not like Freddie Mercury Indian. She's like Jamila Jamil Indian. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
okay, well, it's really weird how we're getting into comparisons. I've seen different Indians who are lighter or darker colored, but it's just,
Right.
I don't think it ultimately that doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I just thought it was funny that her mom was upset about that when it's like she's already pretty dark. Like,
yeah, but I feel like that just, well, just to point out, and I'm going to get, I'm just going to get into the depth of it, but it's just that starts affecting their self esteem, and that's why nowadays, I think people do a lot of cosmetic procedures more than ever.
yeah, no, I agree. Like, yeah, like all yeah, it's like commonplace now. You know what I'm saying? The fake asses, fake breasts, facial reconstructive surgery.
And I
Um,
feel that most of the time it ends up doing,
more
and
harm than
yeah, like I
good.
feel like it ends up looking worse than they would if they had just left their bodies or faces alone.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and then in conjunction with that, like the skin lightening, like Lil Kim has skin lightening.
That she's pretty unrecognizable
Sammy
now.
Sosa has skin lightening. Looks horrible. It's pretty disturbing, you know. So she comes back to the park and
Tells
tells
Jules.
yeah tells Jules that her mom doesn't want her to play anymore. Um, but Jules tells her not to worry about her mom. Like, uh, she says she can work with her at HMV, which is a record store in England.
Hmm.
I don't think they ever made those in the U.S.,
I don't think so.
but I
I
heard they were
know,
pretty
yeah.
good. I think they had them in Japan too.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel that Japan had a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, and so yeah, they like it was like a Tower Records, like a British Tower Records type of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so there's a little montage, and we hear "Move On Up" by
Mm-hmm.
Curtis Mayfield, and it's like a real inspirational song.
Yeah.
It was like it's at this point it's kind of cliche when they use that song. It's like your go-to uplifting, montage song. But at the time it was like maybe the first time they really used it for that, so it was like cool at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so they play a soccer match, and they do those cheesy little celebrations. Um,
Yeah.
and at the airport, we see her sister is in the car, and she's like banging some guy in the car, and
Yeah, which is, whoa.
yeah, and it's like this other guy. It's not her husband, right?
Well, or her
Yeah,
fiance
or her
because she
fiance.
hasn't married him yet.
Yeah, it's this other guy who she works with at the airport, and the song there, it's like an Indian version of Celine Dion. Um, it's kind of funny.
Well, I mean, you mean the power of love,
Yeah,
which, by the way, a lot of people probably don't realize that Celine Dion was not the original artist for this song, but it was actually Jennifer Rush.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But I guess Celine Dion version
yeah,
got bigger.
yeah, it did. And the Jennifer Rush version came out in '84.
There you go.
Yes,
The greatest year ever.
yes, that's the guy who was born in that year.
Yeah. So we see Jess in the locker room with the other teammates, and they ask if she's promised to someone. If she's gonna have an arranged marriage, and she's like, no. And they're like, what about your sister? And she's like, no, it's not an arranged marriage either.
Yeah, which is shocking because most of the time they are arranged marriages in their culture.
Yeah. And they ask her, oh, like, can you marry a white guy or something like that? And she's like, no, like, I can't marry a white, can't marry black, I can't marry a Muslim, hell no. Like that's the worst of all for me.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just kind of funny seeing all these girls dynamic, and they're trying to probe, her culture and learn things from her. I mean, you would think they would already kind of know a lot about that, being around all these Indian people, but I guess not. Not when it's like, I'm sure they interact with them a lot, but they didn't have that quick, easy access to someone. But seeing them talk remind me of this show, Ladette to Lady. I used to watch that a lot before. It was like a British reality show on like IFC or whatever. So I would watch it like in the mid 2000s. It was like they were trying to get girls who were like party girls and stuff like that. But then they were trying to like turn them into ladies. That was like the premise of the show. And it was funny actually. I thought it was a funny show. If you can find it on YouTube or something like that, try to find it because it's actually pretty funny. Um, and so her sister Pinky thinks that Jess is dating some guy because she knows that she's lying to her parents about working at HMV. She knows that that's bullshit. So she must be dating some guy, and she's just saying that as an excuse to spend time with him.
Yeah, of course.
And so they go shopping, and then we hear this great song by Sporty Spice, which is "I Turn to You like the flower into the sun."
Yeah, it's a really good dance song.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, love that song. And we see her family at home watching TV, and it's almost like they're watching like an Indian Sábado Gigante or something like that. It's like an Indian variety show or something like that.
So yeah, if you're Latino and you've ever watched Sábado Gigante, you remember just every Saturday would just be like a drag of watching that show with your family.
And it would just go on for hours and hours and hours.
It's like, I don't understand how anyone could even sit all the way through that.
Yeah, it was a long time. And she walks into the house. Jess walks into her house, and they see that she has soccer cleats. Oh. And they're like, "What the hell's that?" But she kind of just shrugs it off. And they're, we see them training in the next scene with Joe, and Joe's like pissed off because they're just talking, they're like gossiping while they're training. He's like, hey, like stop yapping or whatever. Yeah. He like chews them out for talking. He's pretty hard on them. He's like Joe Girardi. When Joe Girardi was on the Yankees, was the manager of the Yankees. He was harsh on them. He didn't even let them eat junk food in the clubhouse.
So that's the same. That's the same coach then.
Yeah.
Oh jeez, he was strict.
Yeah. So Jess tells Joe that her foot hurts, and he kind of attends to her, like kind of massages her foot a little bit, and she kind of starts falling more for him, in that moment. They see highlights of the WUSA, the soccer league, and they see Mia Hamm, Brandy Chastain playing. That just reminds me of in '99 when she scored the penalty kick for the U.S. and she took off her shirt and we saw her sports bra. And, they're all jumping around. No. Yeah, I mean, I remember watching that when it happened. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, I only watched that after the fact, and that was just Why?
Yeah. And then Joel's mom walks in, and you know she sees Jess. And Joel's sitting on the bed watching that, and her mom just assumes she's like a traditional Indian girl. She's like, she says, "I hope my daughter can learn something about your culture, like respect for elders." And she says, "Lucky you. I'm sure you're gonna be married to some doctor someday." She just assumes these stereotypes. And so, like, her sister's fiance's parents come, and they tell her parents that they saw Jess kissing some English guy. Um, and now they want to call off the wedding because of that. And her sister says the same thing. She's like, "Oh yeah, I saw her. Um, yeah, I saw her kissing this guy."
Yeah, but Pinky is really upset though because now she ruined everything
Yeah,
for her.
yeah. Like she can't get married now, so she's pissed off at her. And Jess is like, getting shit from all angles at this point. And Joe comes over to their house, and they're surprised to see him. They're like, "Who the hell's this guy?" And so they serve him tea, and they tell him that Jess shouldn't be doing sports. But then he tells them that she has a lot of potential, and her dad explains how he used to play cricket in Nairobi. And yeah, a lot of Indians migrate to Africa, especially Kenya and South Africa.
Which Nairobi is the capital of, no?
Right, yeah, exactly. I guess the director, I think she's from there originally.
Oh, okay.
So that's where that came from. And so they are supposed to have a match in Germany, I guess, in Hamburg or whatever. So we see them flying over there, and we hear Blondie Atomic on the soundtrack. It's a cool little needle drop, quote unquote, as they say. And but it's cool. Like we see, this English team go there, and it's almost like when the Beatles came to Hamburg. I think they're trying to like have echoes of that, because a lot of like British bands back then would go to Germany, to like play the nightclubs over there.
Yeah.
And so in the game, Jess is gonna take a penalty kick, and unfortunately the goalie blocks it, and they lose the game. But her teammates support her. They still give her props, for trying, and they have her back, and then they get ready to go clubbing or something, and they're changing and putting on clubbing clothes or whatever, and then when they walk out, Joe kind of checks her out. He's like, "Ooh, nice!" Like he likes what he sees, I guess, And at the club, they play Mel C again. I Turn to You.
Oh.
It's a banger. You gotta get that song in whenever you have a chance.
Yeah.
And then Joe is like cheesily dancing with the girls there. I don't know. That was like when rave culture was really big in the early 2000s, like the late 90s, early 2000s. Rave shit was just
it was really big.
Yeah, everywhere.
Even not that I ever raved or anything. Even I had some sort of like rave theme thing at one point.
What was that?
It was actually a necklace, and it was a beaded necklace. I had like a lot of little cute, like it had a lot of little cute shapes. Because of that, a lot of my classmates thought that I was into rave, but I was like, I was at the time I wasn't even old enough for that, and either I got compliments for it, but I remember this one girl who would bully me. She gave me crap for wearing that necklace, which nowadays, I mean, not that I'll ever name her, but nowadays I'm seeing the kind of life she lives in. I personally think she's a loser.
There you go. Fuck that bitch. Okay, so he cheesily dances with the girls, and Jules goes outside, and she sees Jess and Joe almost kiss, and she's jealous of that because she likes Joe too. And she's like, "You bitch!" when she sees them like about to kiss.
Yeah, but also they both had agreed that they were gonna have nothing to do with him.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
least not romantically. So that's why it's kind of like she broke that promise.
yeah. But she like liked him too, deep down. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh yeah. That of
Um,
course.
so it's just kind of awkward after that. When they get back to England, her family is waiting for her when the bus arrives, and they're pretty pissed off. They go home, and we see them cooking some roadie rolls. Those are hella good.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right? And
Yeah.
we always used to go to this place in San Francisco called Great Indian Food. That's what the restaurant was called, Great Indian Food.
Yeah, literally.
But it was great. It was hella good Indian food.
It really did live up to its name, but unfortunately, it closed down after a while.
Yeah, but it wasn't because of lack of success, right? It was just like
No.
they just didn't want to do it anymore or whatever.
From what I know, their son was attending school in the area, so I guess to support themselves while he was studying there. They opened up the restaurant, but I don't know if they moved back. I don't know exactly what happened.
Right.
They did close down.
Yeah, but that place was great. I love the Indian pizza. That was the shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish they brought that place back. So we see Jess talking with Joe, and she's telling him like, "Oh, like my parents are pissed off. Jules is pissed off."
Yeah.
She's kind of venting to him, and Joe asks her, "Whose life are you living for, Jess?"
Mm-hmm.
With his accent, and
No. Well,
yeah,
yes, that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that thick Irish accent,
Yes.
and she encourages him to try to talk to his dad because he explains to her like he doesn't have the best relationship with his dad, and he hasn't talked to him in a long time, so it's like he needed some healing on his side too. And Jess comes over to Joel's house. She kind of wants to, you know, see what's up with her. See if they can mend their friendship. And her mom, takes her to her room, and it's cool. Jules has these like CD case holders, like as wall decor. I think that's pretty cool. And her mom tells her that she's been down ever since they lost in Germany, but it's not the game that she's down about.
It's not, and it's the whole thing with Joe.
Yeah, and Jules says that she betrayed her. Um, Jules' mom goes to get tea, and as she's walking up the stairs, she hears them arguing, and she thinks that they had some sort of breakup or whatever. She thinks that they were in a relationship together, and they must have had some sort of breakup. Like, so that's what she's like, thinking in her head. And then she talks with her friend Tony, and she's kind of venting to him, and she's like, "Oh, you're such a good friend. You're such a good guy," and people speculate, like their family speculate that they're really gonna get together, like Tony and her. And Jules is like, I really love Beckham. He's great. Tony's like, oh, I really like Beckham too. Like, I really like him. I really like him. And she's like, okay.
Which, yeah, we already know what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So he reveals that, he's gay. And she's like, but you're Indian. That's what she has. Yeah. She tells him. And he's like, yeah, I am. But still, like, it's still possible to be gay and Indian.
Oh, yeah. Well, any background.
Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly. And then they play more Basement Jacks, which is good, especially from that album. from that time, and just changes for the game. And the Indian guys who play in the park, they go to the game too, and they're like acting like American Pie jackass guys. You know what I'm saying? They're just sitting there rowdy. Maybe they should have did an Indian Pie.
How about not?
Or they act
I
like.
think we already had with.
All right, yeah. Or they act like Kumar and Harold and Kumar, basically. You know what I'm saying? They're like
Oh, jeez, that's
British
that's another
Kumars,
level of ridiculousness.
which I plan on talking about sometime.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably talk about it with Chris.
Yeah, that seems way more fitting. You talking about it,
Yeah,
Chris.
for sure. He's down for it. So then her dad shows up to the game, and you don't expect that. Slides in behind these other Indian dudes, and Jess scores a goal after getting an assist from Jules. Jules gives her the dime, and the team is happy, but Jules isn't. She's like pissed off, looking at her. And a girl fouls Jess and calls her Packy, which is derogatory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which doesn't even apply to her anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like in general, they just call people who look like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't matter where you're from.
Yeah, which I think is really stupid.
Yeah. So she pushes that girl, and Jess gets a red card. Yeah. She gets kicked out of the game, which is bad. Red cards are not good if you're not familiar with soccer.
Yeah. Well, which we assume that almost everyone should be familiar with it.
Yeah. And then Joe is on the sideline. He chews her out and tells her he doesn't want to see that again. And she tells him that the girl called her a Packy, and he says, "I'm Irish. Of course I'd understand what it feels like." That's what he says. But I don't know if that's the same shit.
No, it's not. He's still white. It doesn't. It doesn't work the same way.
Yeah, being Irish and being Indian, I don't know if it
no
equates necessarily.
No, it definitely doesn't.
But they somehow try to make it seem similar at the time. So he hugs her after that. Her dad comes out of the game and sees that, and he's kind of like, "What the hell?" He kind of seems upset by that, and the parents of her sister's fiance, Tito, I guess, comes to their house, and they say that he wants to get married again because he's been depressed, ever since they called off the wedding, and they reveal that Pinky's been depressed about that too. So they're like, okay, yeah, we'll get married now. So they decide that they are going to get married after all. And Joe wants to talk to Jules, and she says she doesn't want to talk about Germany, and she knows he's going to stop coaching after this year, which she's sad about, Yeah. And I guess an American scout will come to this final game of the season that they're going to have. There's like mounting pressure on that. And you hear some Indian music as they're like getting ready for the wedding, and it reminds you of like the Indian music in Chungking Express. So you see them like packing the drugs that they're gonna try to smuggle.
Oh yeah.
It reminds me of that. Jules goes to Jess's house, and she wants to bury the hatchet, and she says she came because
Joe is worried about
her. Yeah, and Jess tells her that the final game is the same day as her sister's wedding, so it's not going to work out,
Yeah, so she thinks she just won't be able to make it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's some interesting cinematography in the movie. There's some interesting angles, like when you see the plane go by and it's like kind of askewed. It's kind of a cool shot. And so Jess gets a letter of acceptance to university, as they say. Not the university.
No, well, yeah. Well, Because I know that over there they use university instead of college,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So she gets her acceptance letter, and so her family's like, okay, great. Now time to focus on that, not soccer.
Yeah.
So she's like kind of sad about that. Like, okay, I guess my soccer days are over. Got to focus on school now, and so she takes down her whole Beckham shrine that she had.
Yeah, like she took down all the posters and whatever else she had.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And her dad sees that she packed everything up, and I guess it kind of does make him somewhat sad, I guess, seeing that. And then they start having the wedding festivities, and it's just Indian wedding, monsoon wedding type of style. And Joe goes to Jess's house and tells her dad that there's going to be a scout at the final game tomorrow. But her dad's like, you shouldn't get in the way of her future. Um, so they're at odds there, and Jules is about to be taken to the game by her parents, and her mom looks ridiculous. She looks like she's dressed for the Kentucky Derby.
Oh yeah, she's definitely way all out. Like what do they call those hats? Because I know that the British are also very big on wearing like these huge hats.
Yeah, I forgot what those hats are called, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just know that in Spain they're also used. Like I just think that's just like a
European thing.
Kind of. Well, they call them pamelas, so I don't know what they call them.
Right. I think I knew, but I don't remember at this moment.
But yeah, I just feel like she's taking it a little too seriously for a soccer game.
Yeah. But that's like how they dress on like the Kentucky Derby. They wear like ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is the Kentucky Derby. I don't expect any less.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
oh yeah.
So
make another appearance.
Yeah, another cameo by Mom. I feel like soundtrack wise, they should have had some Craig David in here. That would have been cool. Like
that's interesting.
Like he would have fit the time period. British should have snuck in 7 days or fill me in. That would have been good. So the game is about to start, and Jess is at the wedding. She's just focused on the wedding.
Well, more like she doesn't want to have to be a part of the whole thing, and you can just see her face that she's not super thrilled about it.
Right. And even her friend Tony is like trying to drag her to the game. He's kind of like try to sneak the hell out of here. There's a shitload of people here trying to run out. And her dad decides, you should go to the game. And she's like, why? And he's like, because you look miserable here. Yeah, well,
he basically said, like, it looks like instead of being at your sister's wedding, it looks like you're attending a funeral.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, you can go. He's like, but I want you to come back happy. So she's like, she's thrilled by that. So she like changes in the car on the way over there. And so she finally shows up to the game, and she runs like they're gonna do a shield, like on a free kick, like they're protecting the goal. So she like runs in with the others, and they're like, "Oh, like nice of you to join us." So she goes on, she forms a shield, and the other team is gonna do the free kick, and so when they do those shields, like they hold hands usually. They hold hands so they can stick together when they jump. And then like Joel's mom like sees them hold hands. And she's just like. She just has that, look of like lesbianism in her eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, I know it's lesbians.
Yeah, but it's like, why would you just assume that that's just weird?
Yeah, well, she's like already paranoid about it. You know what I'm saying? So then, on that free kick, the team actually misses that. But then Jess and Jules tie the game on a goal. So they're happy about that. And Jess gets kicked and fouled, so she gets a free kick. And as she's doing that, we hear this slow opera music and slow motion before she kicks it. And then she takes the kick and she indeed bends it like Beckham and
Well, yeah.
scores.
I mean, she had to.
Yeah,
That was the
whole
that's the
title of the
whole.
movie. But it's cool because she's being lifted by her team, and then you juxtapose that with her sister being lifted by her husband. It's a nice little cross editing
Yeah,
of that.
during the big
Yeah,
dance.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's nice little like parallel editing there. The game ends, and her teammates help her put on the Indian dress back on in the locker room. They're like, "Okay, we gotta go back now." So they put it on her, and then Jess and Jules meet the American Scout. And we kind of we don't hear anything, but we see them kind of shake hands with her, and Jules drives back home with her parents, and she says the scout is from Santa Clara University. I'm sure that's a made up thing. And
that's definitely made up because I don't think Santa Clara
yeah,
has a university. I mean,
yeah,
that's somewhere out of LA, right?
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So yeah, and she said that he offered them a scholarship to go. Her parents are like, "Wow, okay, that's a big deal." I feel like they should have played that Tarsem song here somewhere. I feel like that would have been good.
Which song?
That Indian, that Kiss Kiss song or whatever. Isn't that the guy's name?
I thought that.
Oh, Turkey.
His name is Tarkan.
Oh, Tarkan.
But he's actually Turkish German.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it would have sounded good, I think, still.
Yeah, but let's just leave it at Beau Travail, which the song is featured on. Okay. And if you haven't watched that movie, maybe we'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, another good
movie. Yeah. Now, I mentioned Beau Travail when I was talking with Chris about Point Break, because it's kind of like a female director, but, showing the violence of men. You know what I'm saying? That's what I feel like what those movies have in common. And then back at the wedding, we see the new husband is fighting the other guy who is making out with his wife, and it's a big mess.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you don't do
that. Yeah, exactly. And then Jules says she's going to go to Jess's house to check out the wedding and, hang out. And her mom volunteers to take her to drive her there. And so her mom attacks Jess for being hypocritical. She's like, she says, "Get your lesbian feet out of my shoes," or whatever. Because
Jules had lent Jess her mom's shoes to wear for the wedding. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and the the Indian women are like, she's not Lebanese, she's Punjabi. Like when she says lesbian or whatever, I think she's talking about Lebanese. And her mom admits, like, "Oh, like I heard you arguing with Jess and sounded like you were in a relationship or something like that." And she's like, "No, what the hell are you talking about?" Like, "No, we are not lesbian." She's kind of like, "Oh, thank God." And then one of the Indian ladies says, "Oh, English people are always complaining when we have functions." It's like white Americans complaining about loud Mexican music. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I think it's a lot of people could complain about Mexicans playing loud music. Even I have, honestly, because it gets to the point where you don't want to keep hearing that every night.
Yeah, exactly. So Tony asked the family for their blessing to get engaged. Her and Jess.
Well, him and Jess.
Yeah, him and Jess. Like, under the condition that Jess gets to go to whatever school she wants to go to. So they're kind of happy about that, so they agree. But then Jess admits that...
Yeah, I mean, that it's all a lie.
Yeah, that he's lying. And she admits to playing in the soccer finale that day, and that they won, and her dad let her play. And she explains that there was a scout that came. He offered her a scholarship, and her family thinks it's ridiculous, but her dad explains how he stopped playing cricket, and it only hurt himself and his future, and he doesn't want the same thing to happen to his daughter, so he's like for it now,
Yeah.
And she runs into Joe, and she says that her parents are letting her go to America.
Or let's just say the U.S.
Yeah, the U.S. And they kiss, and he said it's okay because he's not her coach anymore. And she says she can't, she can't see him because it was hard enough to have her parents let her go. They might have a heart attack if she mentions Joe's ass now,
Whoa.
like that.
Well, just the way you're describing it. I mean, yeah, if she brings him up, then of course they'll freak out about it.
Yeah. So it fades to black, and then we see the airport, and Jules and Jess are being dropped off by their parents, and Joe runs to the airport, and the parents are like, "Oh, just the coach or whatever." So they kind of don't really care about it. But then he tells Jess how he was offered to coach the men's team, but he declined to coach the girls because they might go up in rank to be a professional team because they did so well this past year. And they kiss, and right at that moment that they kiss, apparently they see Beckham walking through the airport with Posh. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, it's Beckham."
Yeah, they're like at the upper deck walking by.
Yeah.
People start following.
Yeah, and so they kiss right at that moment, so nobody else really sees it. And they're all pointing, they're like, and we get to see some Beckham, which it actually wasn't him. It actually wasn't them.
I figured that they probably couldn't get them for that.
Yeah, no, they I guess they agreed to do it, like they were gonna do it, but they weren't available when they ended up shooting it, or stunt doubles for that.
Well, if you call them stunt doubles.
Yeah.
But they just call them doppelgangers.
Yeah, well, there you go. And then Jules and Jess, they do a wave, and then it's a freeze frame, and then we hear Curtis Mayfield move on up again.
Yeah.
And then they send college sweaters to Jules' parents, and we see Jess's sister is pregnant now. We see Joe playing cricket with Jess's dad, and that's pretty much it. And then the end credits, it's like a Bollywood style, like everyone's singing.
Yeah, they're like all. Yeah, they're all. Yeah, like you can see segments of some of the cast like sing this song, and it's like a mix of English and Punjabi, right?
Yeah,
something like
it's
that.
like feeling hot, but it's like
in Punjabi.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
that's really cheesy.
And there's like some outtakes, like something like a Rush Hour has like outtakes at the end,
like bloopers.
Yeah, bloopers. Yeah. But I feel like you don't really see that any movies do that now, right? Like I feel like
when I think about it, not
really. They haven't done that in a long time, right? I mean, Rush Hour kind of made it popular again, so that's why every Rush Hour movie you saw the bloopers like that. Yeah. But outside of that, you haven't seen that in a long time. I mean, I guess it's still controversial because would bloopers have been good at the end of Step Brothers? I don't know. The movie was pretty funny without him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, even though I like seeing bloopers because it just makes me think.
It gives you that live element, that things can fuck up, and that's part of the funniness of it, So yeah, everyone's singing, and and then, well, like I said, it's funny because that league that they went to ended up shutting down like a year later.
Oh yeah.
So I feel bad if that was really what they were banking on with their future.
Yeah.
So like the film surprised critics. They praised the screenplay for its lighthearted tone and commentary on Punjabi social norms and culture. I guess it grossed $76.6 million at the box office, making it the highest grossing soccer sports film, I guess to this day. Even though I feel like Will Ferrell kicking and screaming, that's a pretty damn funny Soccer movie.
Well, yeah, but with a lot of dumb crap into it.
Yeah, exactly. It's hilarious. I want to talk about that sometime.
Maybe with Chris.
Yeah. It says to mark the 10th anniversary of North Korea's relations with the United Kingdom, an edited version of Bend It Like Beckham was broadcast on North Korean state television on the 26th of December 2010, Boxing Day, as the British call it. The British ambassador to South Korea, Martin Uden, said it was the first ever Western-made film to air on television in North Korea.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? So I guess other people, this impacted other people as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, like this is the first like kind of Indian movie really kind of to break out in the U.S., you know.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, like well, really like yeah, like MIA kind of comes on the scene in the music world.
Speaking of a movie taking a lot of place in Hounslow, and I know that that's where she lived.
There you go. Yeah, so MIA comes out, her first album, 05.
I thought it was 04.
Oh, was it 04?
It was
Roller? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was 04.
Okay, so that was just a couple years after that, right?
Because I remember it was right around the time when I was starting senior year of high school.
Okay, great. And then, like in 08, Slumdog Millionaire came out, and that becomes a phenomenon, and you see it's even more Indian than Bend It Like Beckham. It's very Bollywood influenced, and, the movie RRR, the Indian movie, did really well on Netflix and has a lot of fans in the U.S. And then years later, a movie like Yesterday comes out, with an Indian lead who sings Beatles songs.
Well, he's Indian descent.
Yeah, Indian descent. But he's like a similar sort of thing. Background, Yeah. So that was Bend It Like Beckham. Any other words you want to say regarding this?
Well, yeah, I did want to mention that at the time when I first watched it, because I told you that I checked out the DVD from the library. Well, one of the special features that I had was, you know how a lot of times DVDs have bonus features about the movie. And one of them was actually a recipe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For what?
Which I don't remember what it actually was, but maybe if I can find it right now. But I remember when I was watching the movie, and my aunt came over to visit when I was still living with my parents, and she saw that I was and I was watching the bonus features like with the recipe, and she thought, oh, that looks really good, and she asked me to write down the recipe for her, which I did, but I don't think she ever really made it. I think a lot of times anything looks good to her, like if it looks very appealing, she'll want to try to make it. But I think at the time she was just really busy. She had a really busy schedule, so I don't know. But maybe maybe now I can try to convince her to make some Indian food or something.
Yeah, 20 years later, right?
Yeah, well,
21.
21. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
It was actually not. Oh, I just googled it. It was actually for aloo gobi.
Oh wow! So what is that?
So, it says it's a bowl comprised of potatoes and cauliflower.
Huh. Sounds good.
Yeah, which
healthy.
Yeah, which I think I've seen that they have had that on the menu at some Indian restaurants that we have been to, but
sure.
I don't know if I actually do remember trying it.
Yeah, I don't recall having that either, unless I had it and I didn't know that's what it was called or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so that's pretty much it for Bend It Like Beckham. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the next Briterion Bollection.
Yes.
Biatches. Peace out.
Thank you. Yes. All right. See you next time.
Bye.